First of all, that the headline is not really market moving. So by looking at the details, it looks very technical. It's plugging the holes of what CNY it's still unable to do versus the rest of the world's other currencies. So from our perspective, it's important to introduce the likes of CNY futures because it means a lot of the smaller corporates would be at least able to hedge their FX exposure when more of these Chinese corporates are going abroad. But at the same time, the renminbi internationalization still have to start from a trade settlement currency in our view. And therefore, the likes of allowing greater flexibility for the usage of the currency or even just push forward for more renminbi account opening to become eligible across a number of other countries in the world remains some of the most fundamental challenges. Take one example. Vietnam and India has been a hot investment destination for the Chinese corporates, but yet even up to today, local RMB accounts are still not allowed. So some of these are example of the hurdles for renminbi internationalization, not to mention challenging the dollar at this stage, but we do feel that progress would be a lot faster from here after plugging some of these technical issues.
Are you encouraged by the developments of stable coins here in Hong Kong? We had RD Technologies sitting with me yesterday. We were talking about that company was in the sandbox and they want to use the stable coin as a cross-border payment. So eventually, I think the introduction of yuan as the pegged fiat currency to the stable coin. Would this be one method of further internationalization or the adoption of the use of the Chinese currency?
We think things are still at early stage, so our expectation is for things to move in parallel. So on one hand, they will continue to push forward renminbi trade settlement, investment, or even becoming a reserve currency under the existing payment and settlement system. But at the same time, they will also try to push forward for the new technologies on the back of a stable coin. And we noted that the major usage of the stable coin these days has changed. It's no longer only to facilitate cryptocurrency investment as what it was in several years ago, but today it's more about facilitating cross-border payments and getting rid of quite a lot of hurdles under the current existing system. So we feel that it's an additional channel that allow China to make additional efforts to internationalize the renminbi or to make it easier to use internationally. But at this stage, it's too early to tell how big an impact that's going to be.
According to the BBOC, the yuan is the world's third payment currency. What needs to happen in order for it to be more widely used? Is it, I mean, right now there's capital controls. Is that the first thing?
There are several things. First of all, is that like when we look at the fundamental, it's actually very strong. So in the medium to long term, we are very bullish that CNY will play a much bigger role in global payment system, settlement system, and investment target as well. So that is backed by China's simply speaking, trade with the rest of the world. It's now the largest trading partner with a few dozens of countries in the world. And in the past few months, we see clear signs that a number of central banks, be it like regional or even the ones that are slightly further away, that are looking to diversify into the CNY. And the rationale is quite simple. If the biggest source of imports comes from China for these countries, it makes sense to include CNY as part of their reserve. But there are also other hurdles. Capital control is definitely one of the hurdles. And based on the current situation, given the rising external risk, it doesn't look like China is ready to open up its capital account anytime soon. There are some other hurdles. One of the key issues is commodity pricing. The bulk of the pricing of global commodities are denominated in dollar. The contracts has to be signed in dollar. So even though that China has been the biggest buyer for a number of commodities, for example, iron ore, etc., the goods itself is still priced in dollar, and therefore it's still mostly settled in dollar. So this is one of the key hurdles preventing CNY settlement to gain an even greater market share at this stage.
As we're talking about the yuan, we are marking the recent strong performance. So what is the outlook for the currency?
We are still looking for modest depreciation for the rest of this year. When we look at the CNY's performance against dollar during different dollar cycles, the signs are relatively clear. that during the period for very sharp weakening of the US dollar, for example, between the 13th of January to the 22nd of April, dollar index came down by 10%, but CNY was almost pegged. CNY's appreciation was less than even the Hong Kong dollar during that period of time. And the CNY only rebounded when dollar index rebounded because the entire dollar Asia was down on the back of Taiwan dollar's move, on the back of hope for a very quick trade truce between the two countries. And then once dollar resumes the downturn, CNY again was almost pegged to the dollar. So here, if we talk about fundamental reasons, we are expecting China growth to be moderating in the second half of this year because a lot of the factors that has been supporting first half growth may not be sustainable. So we had a sharp front loading of the fiscal policy, a sharp front loading of U.S. imports, which has been lifting everyone's exports for the first half of this year, but it doesn't really look like it's very sustainable into the second half of this year. And so if we have weaker growth at the same time, probably weaker trade in the second half of this year, and we still have a very hefty interest rate differential between the Fed and the CNY, between the dollar and the CNY, especially after overnight. We probably don't see much probability for the Fed to be cutting in the third quarter, yet the PBOC are still very likely to cut given deepening deflationary pressure. So that's why we feel that dollar CNY is probably bottoming at this stage, and we are looking for a rebound for the remainder of this year.